Put the cigarette out.
Yeah, you said you were putting it out. No.
I thought you were putting the cigarette out. No, I'm not putting a cigarette out.
I'm not gonna put it out.
Putting a cigarette out. No.
Right now is the time for me to leave everything I know behind.
The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come. A fact's a fact. It belongs to them. Let's give it back. The band Midnight Oil. That was their 1980s hit song.
That band.
Beds Are Burning. Beds Are Burning, led by howling chrome dome giant Peter Garrett. Do you guys remember Midnight Oil?
I don't.
Wow.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that band until this very year, and then it's come up like 7 or 8 times because there's somebody I work with who is all about this band.
Really? All about Midnight Oil? All about them? Wow.
Who?
Well, are they
I would know them anyways, but
they are Australian.
Okay.
Yeah. You can tell when the guy is singing, he's like, the time has come to say fair's fair. He actually, because you know how some people, like, if they're from the UK, you can't tell where in the UK they're from until they start talking.
Yeah, everybody sings in an American accent.
Yeah, or a British
Very
accent.
strange.
Yeah. But these guys, they sound as Australian as hell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember my brother had a Midnight Oil T-shirt.
Oh yeah. I saw them at the WOMAD tour in it was the World of Music, Arts and Dance. It was like Peter Gabriel and Midnight Oil and a bunch of other bands.
Yahoo Serious was headlining.
Yahoo Serious was sweeping the stage.
He also had a Fishbone T-shirt, so I don't know.
Fishbone. I think a lot of people bought Fishbone T-shirts just to buy Fishbone T-shirts. I don't think there were that many Fishbone fans. I think it was just a popular shirt in the early.
Yeah, they were just handing them out at Walmart.
They were.
Fishbone.
So anyway, why, you might ask, are we bringing back this one-hit wonder 80s band? Well, because today we are talking about another Midnight from the 80s, the action comedy film Midnight Run. Midnight Run was helmed by middle school boy favorite director Martin Brest because of his name, Brest. Martin Brest also directed such hits as Beverly Hills Cop, Scent of a Woman, and Meet Joe Black before the movie Gigli, spelled Gigli, made him quit directing forever.
I thought that was a Kevin Smith film.
No. Well, Gigli went to someone else. He started, he got the script for it. He wrote the script to help develop the script or something, and got the cast, assembled the cast, and he had this whole movie plan. And then they came in and said, all right, we're firing you and changing everything. And they fired him and changed everything. And it was a massive flop. And then he was like, you know what? I think I might not be a director for this time anymore. I think Hollywood has passed me by. I've made a few successful movies. If this is what they want, then I'm taking myself out of the equation.
Death by Gigli.
Out of the equation. Gigli killed a couple of careers.
Yeah. That was the Kevin Smith movie with Bennifer, right?
Yeah, Affleck, yep. And J-Lo, right? I think.
Yeah, Bennifer.
Yeah.
Baffleck.
Yeah. But this
Jaffleck.
one did not kill. This movie did not kill Martin Brest's career. Midnight Run is a frenemy road pick that pairs the talents of noted comedian Robert DeNiro with dog lover and professional dad Charles Grodin, Yaphet Kotto from Alien, John Ashton, a.k.a. Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop, Dennis Farina, a.k.a. that guy who plays a cop or a gangster in every film, Joe Pantoliano, a.k.a. Joey Pants, and Philip Baker Hall round out the star-studded cast. Midnight Run was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture and Best Actor for Robert De Niro. It was a critical and commercial success, but, and this is a big but, that one was for our middle school listeners, neither Brian nor Joshua had seen this film prior to this episode.
Yeah.
Correct. And thank you for identifying that actor, because it was bothering me that he was an alien. with
Yaphet
Yaphet?
Kotto?
I was like, what the fuck is he from? And now I can vividly picture him. I'm like, oh shit, that's right.
They made a wax sculpture of his entire head so that the alien could bite through it in that horrific scene where they show Yaphet Kotto's head exploding.
At least he got hazard pay for it. Well, I liked Yaphet in this a lot. And I had read some trivia that he found it really hard to work on this movie because the director, Mr. Brest, would just reshoot and reshoot like numerous takes. Like even if he felt like something was like that was the perfect take, let's do it again.
Let's do two more.
He was just trying to like generate like some extraordinary circumstance. And apparently during the entire movie, Yaphet had a fever. He was sick like the entire time.
The entire movie?
Movie.
These take months to film.
Yeah. Should get that checked out.
Go to the doctor, man.
Maybe he was only there for like 2 weeks or something.
I don't know.
But I liked him in this role as an FBI
a lot of shit in this,
goon, like a G-man who continually is, he's just trying to get the bad guy and through any means necessary. And he's got these stupid G-men around him who continually just seems like they got your ID there, boss. Yeah, I fucking know.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
I mean, well, and I'll talk about this later. I mean, an absolute fucking useless FBI agent. What are you talking about? Like the former cop guy from Chicago finds the guy in a day. This guy's like, the Fed couldn't find, like, he just had this whole case. This guy found him in 24 hours. I was like, wait, this guy's an idiot.
There was a thing in the 80s where and Die Hard does this too, where like any cop is like smarter, savvier, and more real than any like federal agent.
Yeah.
If you bring in like someone from the government, they're always a stumblebum fuck up. And that's kind of this role, but I actually will hand it to Yaphet Kotto for giving it like some gravity and depth, and you're like he keeps his head above the water as they're trying to push over him, like he stays real and stuff, and you actually kind of root for him, or at least I did. I was like,
yeah, no, it wasn't like unlike all the other G-men. You're like, they are the typical throwaway
right
FBI agents from the 80s movies, but Yaphet felt like he was the one good one. And he was just like everyone's working against him. Totally. So even though De Niro like gets a leg up on him every now and again, like it did feel like near the end it was like equal footing. So.
He still keeps finding them. Like he keeps finding them. He's almost there. But De Niro, they have to make De Niro look a little smarter than everyone else because he's the protagonist. So like they'll tap the phones, find out where he's going. They'll go to where he's going, thinking that he doesn't know that they know where he's going and that he'll show up there, and it would have worked like 6 times, except Charles Grodin is a big pain in the ass. So like Charles Grodin keeps thwarting the plans by like pretending he can't fly. And then they show up at the LA airport and they're like, where the fuck is he? Like, oh, we kicked him off the plane, like, so they aren't stupid. Like they keep showing up at the right spot through doing good, Fed work or whatever you call it, but like,
well, they have a wiretap.
Yeah, but like shit isn't there. Like they're unpredictable because either
that whole
De Niro's smart or De Niro or Grodin's annoying.
That whole airplane scene, like I watched it twice. This is like the first movie of ours that I watched twice.
Yeah, really.
But that airplane scene where Charles Grodin pretends that he at the time. He freaks out. You don't think he's pretending, but it turns out he's pretending to be afraid of flying. Yeah. And then they're about to the captain of the plane comes and gives him a talking to, and he's like, "Hey, I'm transporting this fugitive across." He's afraid of flying, and the pilot's like, "You can't take a fugitive who doesn't want to be taken. Don't you know anything?" I'm like, what?
Well, he's like, "You can't take a fugitive who can't fly." Yeah, like
no, you fucking sit down in your cuffs and you shut up. You're the one who's under arrest.
Yeah. The thing is, like,
crazy loophole.
It would fucking work though. If someone flipped out in a plane, they will kick you off like 100% of the time. Like if anyone starts wigging out, he's like, "These things go down. These things go down." Like everyone on the plane would be like, "Get this fucking guy off." So it's funny because when I saw this in the 80s, it was on cable and we saw it a bunch of times back then, I thought Charles Grodin was kind of annoying. I remember being like, oh, he's the annoying guy.
Yeah.
And watching it this time, I was like, he's just smart, like I think they kind of place him on the autistic spectrum somewhere, but he's also just a smart dude who's got like wily tactics and stuff like that. And at base, a very decent human being. And I didn't really remember that from the first time that I saw this.
Yeah. What else has Charles Grodin?
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yeah, that's why I said dog enthusiast and professional dad, because he's like
Beethoven.
Yeah, he's like dog
Beethoven.
movie.
I couldn't tell you a
dog
thing
movies.
about Beethoven other than it's about a Saint Bernard.
I never saw it either. Yeah. I've seen Charles Grodin in a few things. He plays a lot of dads because he's good at it,
But Charles Grodin is a super famous name, and you see him, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. I can't think of anything else he's been in though. Like, and I looked through IMDb, and it's like, this is like a blank slate for me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy to see him in this as one of the main characters. And he was a heavy hitter. It was a really good role.
Totally.
For him. Yeah.
And it's funny because when I was reading about this, Martin Brest also almost did the movie Rain Man. And when I was watching this again, I was like, this is a lot like Rain Man, like a lot. Where like this kind of like hip guy has to get paired with this sort of autistic spectrum-y guy in this movie anyway, and then like full-blown autistic dude in Rain Man, and a series of mishaps based on the personality of the guy the cool guys along with, sets them off on these wrong paths, and they get to know each other and they get to respect each other. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of a lot like Rain Man, which came out, I think, the same year. But they switched Martin Brest out early for Barry Levinson, and then he did this instead, I think.
Wow.
I was like, it's funny. He kind of did Rain Man, but with just different people. And
How the sausage is made in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I thought one angle too could have been like Charles Grodin's being very annoying as kind of like on purpose of an act, like just like he's faking it to like he can't fly, like because at the end, he's very, they get kind of like down to earth and like kind of shows his real character, and he's a nice guy and everything. Mm-hmm. But part of me wondered, like, is he just being obnoxious because it throws a wrench in everything and it stalls everything, because he's just doing it on purpose and he's not. I guess you could 50-50. Yes, it's his personality, but also he's like, well, if I'm extremely obnoxious and every turn, this guy's going to get sick of me and something's going to go wrong and I'm going to get free somehow. Because he does it all the time, right? Where he's like, oh, he keeps like fucking everything up.
and they show him, when they need money and he gets to play he gets to play Federal Agent Mosley.
Yeah.
And he goes into that Reds bar and like they scam him out of 20s, and they have that scene where you're like, hey, look, he's like good at this, like he'd be a good cop or agent, like, or whatever, sidekick in a caper, they let him have these little moments where he gets to shine a little bit and show how good he is at like faking stuff, and like
and he's not just like, they give some funny lines too. Like there's good dialogue. And like, it's funny. They start the arc with like, he's super annoying. And you got Robert De Niro's like good cop, good guy, whatever. They hate each other. And then by the middle, it kind of starts like evening out. And then towards the end, it kind of like, from adversary to friendship at the end, it's like that. I feel like this movie's it's formulaic. I mean,
for sure.
It's just like planes, trains, and automobiles. There's a million movies like this where two guys hate each other. And by the end, they like each other.
They're on a road trip.
I mean,
exactly.
And Beverly Hills Cop too. Like Martin Brest also
the buddy comedy
Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
I was actually surprised you said Scent of a Woman, because that's a fantastic movie. But I was like, oh, that's a totally different tone.
In a row, he had Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run, Scent of a Woman. I don't know what Josh and Sam is. Well, he didn't direct Josh and Sam. And then Meet Joe Black. Like in a row, all those movies were successful, acclaimed. The performers got good press for for their roles. The scripts got good press for the scripts. And then he did Gigli, but again, like
And
that
he did
wasn't
Gigli.
his movie. Like I was like, oh, he did Gigli. No wonder. I guess he did have a turd in there, but it was everyone that did that movie was like the script that he had and the people that he had put together were great, and they killed it because they didn't think it'd be funny enough or something. So yeah, like dude has a good career. And he did a few movies in a row that were really popular and then just said, okay, I'm going to leave it to the next generation and left. I got to respect that.
So was De Niro going down on like a comedy path at this time? Because
I think this was his first foray into comedy.
He wanted to.
I mean, he was in Brazil, which is, I think, the
Yeah.
second Rabbit Fighters movie we've seen.
Yeah.
And that was 1985.
Yeah.
I would say that's arguably a comedic role. for
So
him.
I did read it was his first comedic role where he wasn't like in disguise or gagged up in some way. Like in Brazil, he's wearing a costume
Okay. Yeah, he does
Yeah.
have
and stuff
a-
like that. But this is
a
like his
nose.
first like comedic role where he was actually just a straight like actor portrayal,
Yeah.
not like
Okay.
And he's
cameo
famous.
or some costume thing or something.
And he's like super famous at this point. You know, you're not, no one is like, who's this guy? You know, or is in Brazil, some people might have been like, I haven't seen, you know, Taxi Driver or whatever the hell he'd done at that point. Super famous by this point. Yeah, he wanted to do a comedy and pick this one, which, I mean, if you're a director, you got to be like, sweet. Got Robert De Niro. I guess they were looking at Albert Brooks to play the nerdy, you know, accountant. But I'm kind of glad they got Charles Grodin.
No, yeah, I think they had surprisingly,
Yeah.
which is probably why there's a hit. Like surprisingly, someone had some sort of sixth sense that they would have chemistry because they
Yeah.
were really good together.
They were.
Like in terms of just dialogue and banter and their personalities. Like I think it worked really well. Otherwise, like, if there wasn't chemistry between those two characters, this movie would probably be terrible.
It's definitely formulaic, but it's using a cookie cutter to start with, and then
Are you saying this is the Build-A-Bear of 80s comedies?
it totally is a Build-A-Bear of 80s comedies. Yeah, you start with a template.
The tourist trap of
Yeah, you start with a template, and then like what you do with it is what it becomes, right? Like it's all about what you do with it. And I think they did a good job with it, man. Like,
No, yeah, I agree.
I was gonna
think,
say-
yeah.
it is formulaic. It does a great job like across the board. I will say I don't think it needed to be 2 hours long.
That was
Yeah.
my
So,
one
yeah.
complaint.
90
is that
minutes
It felt really
tops.
long. It felt really long.
There's a half hour that you could totally shave down there
yeah,
because like even watching it twice is like, why is this 2 hours long? There's several chase scenes that I feel like could have been edited
totally,
down
yeah.
a bit. Yeah. So, but
I
Yeah,
thought I was
like-
going to be in the
yeah.
minority saying that because I didn't know if watching I was like, man, this feels really long for a
Yeah.
comedy.
I think it's like 204 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 15 minutes of credits of him walking around alleys in New York City, set to like back alley blues music.
Well, this is the one thing I hated about the movie. Actually, is the Danny Elfman soundtrack. I was like, it just sucks. There's like the Danny Elfman sad music, like no, the plane didn't work out.
It's a trombone.
and then it's
Wah,
like
wah.
like the fucking like happy harmonica guy in a chase scene where it's like. You're like, oh, they're on a chase. Look,
Yeah.
it's chasing time.
It's Jason time. Fire up the harmonica.
Fire up the harp player, kick him in
mouth
the
harp.
ass. He's
Yeah.
right. You're on.
I really feel like I'm doing a run at midnight.
I know. It's so Chicago.
This movie feels like it's built for cable. Like this is probably a lot of 80s dads' favorite movie. Like I could see this being on a lot. Like,
it's-
you know, so
it's
I
good when
enjoyed
it
it, but I
comes
was like,
on.
man, I could see this being on TV all the time.
Totally. I was like skeptical of it because it's, you know, Robert De Niro in a comedy, and I've seen him on like Saturday Night Live and stuff, and I'm like, he is not funny in this. But in this, he's funny. Like I was like, yeah, everyone's good in this.
I think what works about it being a comedy is that it's not joke comedy. It's
Mhm.
their personalities are funny
Yeah.
and bouncing them off each other. That is like their mannerisms and the way they interact with each other is funny in and of itself. It's not like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm doing goofy things and saying stupid jokes. It's like our behavior together is comedic, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it funny. I think to me is like they didn't like try to give Robert De Niro like jokes or you
Yeah.
know like gags. It was like no, he's just kind of playing a quirky version of himself, and then you know he's just letting Charles Grodin kind of irritate him, and then it just kind of rolls, and it's like, okay, this feels organic and it's funny that way.
What I like about De Niro is that he actually really does love comedy, and it's well known that you can shit all over him at an award show and he'll just like fucking love it. Like when Frank Sinatra used to trash on mobsters that would come to his shows, he would like shit all over the mobsters, and they would just like roar with laughter and be like, "Frank, you're too funny, oh Frank." Like De Niro, like I've seen comics rip on De Niro, and he'll laugh his ass off. So he is a fan of comedy, and he wanted to do this. And there were a couple scenes in this movie where Martin Brest said to Charles Grodin, like, just improvise something here, just to make Bob laugh, and see how it happens. Let's see how it works. And one of them was when they're in the train car, and he's like, you ever have sex with an animal, Jack? It's like,
chickens.
Some of those chickens at the Indian reservation. Those are some good looking chickens. They do have a good rapport, and Charles Grodin's funny. Like, he's a funny dude. He can make De Niro laugh.
He had one really funny line that I did not see coming. I thought he's like trying to hijack that Jeep, and he's trying to start it up like, hot wired. He's like, yeah, I got a plane. He's like, yeah, you start it up and I'll run you over or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
start it up, I'll run you over.
A subtle joke. And I was like, that's really fucking fun.
He's got really good reactions too, where he's hot wiring the Jeep and he's just going, oh no, oh, come on. Oh, like he really does seem concerned. Like, this is wrong. It's someone's car.
Him lecturing him is really funny. Like, why are you eating that? Why would you put that in your body?
Why would you do that? And yet it's bad for you.
He's like, cigarette out.
Shut the
just put the cigarette out.
Because it's 50% of the movie is smoking.
I know.
I know.
Put that out.
I look at him. He's like, I thought you put the cigarette out. No, don't put the cigarette out. Don't put the cigarette out.
I love that. I love everything that's like a smoking section of this whole movie. This movie should have a smoking section.
Fuck. This is 1988. It looks like 1958.
The other guy's buying a ticket, and he's like, smoking or non-smoking? He's like, what do you think?
Everybody
we all got it.
Which, by the way, the ticket guy was Martin Brest. That was the director.
That was it?
Cameo. Yep. He's like, smoking or non-smoking? That was funny.
I think too. Aside from the chemistry of the two main actors, I think they did a good job with kind of the ancillary side characters, like Dennis Farina and
I gotta say, those mobsters are not smart.
They're supposed, This like again, this is like cartoon world,
cartoon character guys,
totally cartoon world, like road trip stuff,
But I liked I liked Marvin. I thought that.
Marvin's funny, yeah.
Taggart.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him where he was saying like, he wasn't really famous yet at that point. Like he was known for Beverly Hills Cop, but like sometimes you get that role and then you just never get another one and you never know. And he went into a room to audition for this one, and he was like, there's a room full of guys that all, looked like me. And I said to myself, fuck everyone in this room. I'm getting this role, so he was like, I walked in super confident, and I did a scene with De Niro, and in the scene De Niro drops a book of matches, and he says, it was by mistake, and we had to ad lib, and he says, get that for me, and I said, fuck you, you get it for yourself, go fuck yourself. And he said that like when he left the audition, De Niro was like, that fucking guy was hilarious. Hire that guy.
I thought it was just like the director being like, all right, you're good in Beverly Hills Cop, let's put you in this thing.
I mean, it sure didn't hurt, I bet. But again, like De Niro likes it when people shit on him and stuff, like he thinks it's funny. De Niro like appreciated him like standing up to him and not crapping his pants in front of Robert De Niro.
I will make a note of that next time I see Robert De Niro.
Yeah, right. Just make sure to shit all over him.
Do you think Joey Pants just goes into interviews just yelling because he's overacting everywhere? It's like Jesus, It's like God damn. Like
again, if that was not Joey Pants though, that character would have been much worse. I like Joey Pants in basically everything. Like, he's like a brand. You know, you put a weird rug on him or something, put him in a bad sweater, let him yell, and that's what I want to see. Everyone wants to see Joe.
Let him yell
Joey
into a
Pants.
phone.
Yeah, yelling.
It's a lot of phone yelling.
Gotta yell.
Jack, what the fuck? Where the fuck is the guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's strange. You know, I think that is weird that neither Joshua Wrights have seen this. I feel
I
like,
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
a lot of TV as a kid too. And I don't remember this one at all.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah, we watched a bunch.
I think if it had maybe a different title.
Midnight Run?
Yeah, I feel like.
What does that even mean?
The title is weak.
Well, they say it earlier in the
Yeah,
early
it's
in
like,
the
this
movie.
is a Midnight
Run.
Run.
But
You
I
get
got
them
the
one
titular
day.
line.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean anything to me. What does that mean?
Midnight Run. It means you get them in the same day. Like, you know, you get the assignment and you close it by midnight the same day. You know, it's like, this is a day job. You know, no fucking big deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, making.
If they titled it "Throw Mama from the Train," I think I'd probably
See, I don't like
Probably
those
seen it.
either because those are like trying too hard. You know?
stop or my mom will shoot.
Totally, yeah. He's like, so you have no script. Is this and the script is the title? That's basically it. Yeah. It's the only joke in the movie.
Or let's get the title of a song that we're gonna play a lot.
Yep.
And that'll be the title of the movie.
They
I
used
just forgot about Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Sylvester Stallone, Estelle Getty,
Yeah.
Dream Team.
What
What could go wrong?
could go wrong?
That was the answer to Schwarzenegger and DeVito.
Yeah,
Stallone and Estelle Getty.
Twins, except one of them's super old.
That movie's coming back to me where she washes his gun.
I never saw it, man.
What?
I never saw- Stop or my mom will shoot.
Your gun was dirty. I cleaned it.
I saw part of Throw Mama from the Train, and I just found it disquieting.
That was.
I just didn't like it.
I remember it being really dark. Yeah.
It was halfway in that I started watching it, and I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this.
What's her name?
Anne Ramsey.
Yeah. Ma Fratelli.
Ma
Fratelli, yeah.
Yeah, with the voice, that fucking voice, man, killer. But
Heard she was a sweet lady in real life, though.
I mean, probably. Yeah, but I don't know. I think they totally nailed the cast in this thing. Like everyone's good.
Yeah.
even the side characters, and they have like, what's his name? What the hell's his name?
The mob dude.
The advisor. Yeah, they've Dennis Farina is the mob guy. But
The guy from
Philip
Boogie
Baker
Nights.
Hall, Philip
Yeah.
Baker Hall, who's in like a million movies, and he's always good. I was like, he's
Always
barely
plays the
even
same
in this.
character.
Yeah, like they just got him to play like, probably 20, 30 lines or something.
I
Like,
have to advise you not to do this.
I
Why
know.
don't you go
yeah.
have high C or something? Like,
Yeah.
like every single scene. Go
Yeah.
make yourself a sandwich.
I feel like Dennis Farina is the dumbest character in this movie, despite all the bumbling, feds, because he's like, I'm the guy who's running the whole fucking mob, but I'm going to go down there myself and be the fucking bag man for this thing that's probably crawling with feds. And he just by himself, they're like, I have to advise you against this. He's like, fuck you. Get a juice. Go fuck yourself. I'm going to go get arrested, okay?
I do have to say that whole third, maybe less than that. The final scene in the airport, that was really well crafted. Like that really drew me in. The entire movie.
Yep.
I would find myself like, oh, we got a chase scene going on, and then kind of like zone out a little bit because it's a chase scene. Like where it's gonna go, and then finally when the whole setup, it was very tense. I think it was constructed really well.
Yeah.
I really didn't know exactly how it was going to go down.
Mhm.
Part of me was a little disappointed, but then immediately not when his thing shut off. The recorder, the bug got shut off, and so he couldn't communicate with the feds.
Got the discs.
So he just turned around and started yelling. He's like, he's got it.
Someone's got the discs.
I was like, that you could have yelled the entire time.
No,
Yeah.
seriously.
But then it worked out. I was like, that worked pretty well. So
Yeah,
no
yeah.
complaints there. But
When you were saying that, I thought of a scene that I would cut to make the movie shorter. When they go to the Indian reservation and he tries to hijack the plane.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this for?
Yeah.
Like, just so we know that he was lying about the plane, he could have just told him later, hey, Jack, I was lying about the plane. I could fly a plane. And you'd be like, you son of a bitch, you lied to me about the plane. But
I would have cut the part where they So they did the whole stealing the money by pretending they're feds, and it's a counterfeiting thing.
Yep.
That was great. But then they immediately take the money and buy groceries.
Yeah.
And then
And then
drop the
drop them
groceries on the
everywhere.
ground when they jump onto the train.
Well, they get some. They get one bag in the
That-
train and the other bag not
Why?
in the train.
That, you're
Yeah.
wasting everyone's time.
Well,
with this.
that's like the scene. That scene is like the scene in Trading Places where they are on the train and they all dress up in different character outfits and they have this long like rope-a-dope with the bad guy. And it just, there's no point to the plot at all other than they just wanted to do like character bits. And like Jamie Lee Curtis wanted to dress in lederhosen and say she was Swedish and, you know, all this stuff. Like, so yeah.
I've
that
still
was,
never seen Trading Places.
oh yeah. We got to have that.
We should do that as the Christmas
We gotta do
episode.
that. That's true. It is a Christmas movie.
Is it really?
Of sorts. Yeah.
Got
it's a big hook for Christmas in there.
Very nice.
Also, you could have cut out the meeting of the ex-wife and daughter, and it would not have mattered at all.
Oh,
That
I would
was
have
like, what was
kept
the
it.
point of that? It was like 20 minutes.
I would have kept that. That was
Why?
one of my favorite scenes in the movie. The scene with his daughter, especially when you have kids that are older. The scene with his daughter, I mean, like that scene is in there to show you that he is all bluster and that he and Charles Grodin at core are good, solid, decent people. And that's why they end up getting along despite their differences is like,
But I already believed that he was
De Niro,
supposed
Yeah,
to-
it-
De Niro wouldn't do the take, but he's so abrasive though, and he treats Charles Grodin like shit, and he's like, all I care about is the money. I don't give a shit about anything anymore, just money. I want to open a coffee shop. Fuck everyone else. And then you get back to the house. Man, that scene with his daughter.
but
that-
he's
that one
not saving
gets
up
me,
any
man.
of the money for his daughter, like until he's mentioned her once.
Yeah,
he's
he hasn't seen her in 9 years.
Yeah.
It only made him look worse.
Well,
And he
he's-
goes,
like,
"Ah,
they're
you got real
taking-
big."
They're taken care of. Yeah, like they're taken care of by the captain, corporal, whatever the fuck they call it.
taking bribes.
Yeah. They don't need his money. But you get that scene is him being decent by removing himself from her life, you know, by being like, I'm bad for my ex-wife and I'm bad for my kid. And I'm just going to take myself out of the equation. I think that's what that scene is for. That made me think he was more of a decent person than any of the other things that happen in the movie. I don't know. The scene where she comes out with her babysitting money and he's like, no, honey, no, I can't. I'm like, it's so awful.
I mean, I feel like if you cut that, I could have cared less. Like it wouldn't have changed my perception of the movie. I mean,
In a movie without a lot of grounding to it, it was a grounding scene.
fine. Then I'm cutting the Baja Jeep scene. Chase.
There were some Blues
I'm getting
Brothers.
this movie to 90 minutes.
Some Blues Brothers type scenes where like 75 cop cars fall off a cliff chasing
Yeah.
him in the desert or something where you're like, this is too long, my friends.
Yeah, I didn't need the helicopter blowing up and
Yeah.
turning into fucking Rambo.
That's the other thing is like,
it's so silly.
this movie has such a lighthearted, tone about it. And then every once in a while, like they just murder two dudes and you're like, what?
Dudes in a helicopter.
They were goons.
Blew up two goons in a helicopter. Like, okay.
Well,
There's-
I mean, the why? Like one thing I thought the plot's ludicrous. I mean, like it doesn't make any sense. I mean,
well, the plot is actually extremely unludicrous. It's extremely straightforward. Like they just have to catch this guy and bring him back to Los Angeles. That's it.
no. The reason why they're finding this guy is ridiculous. Like he's an accountant for the mob, but doesn't know they're the mob. They're a front. He stole $15 million and gave it to charity.
Yeah.
And then went into hiding somehow in New York. Not very far. Mobs in New York. So and then
Well, mobs
this
in
guy from
Vegas, man. Yeah.
Well, I know, but it's like there's mobsters in New York. But then then you got the Jackson, LA, and then he somehow makes it to New York really quickly. Like he's an ex-cop, and he didn't want to take bribes from a heroin dealer. That's the same mobster that the other guy stole money from. It's kind of the whole like I stole money and gave it to charity thing is kind of goofy, but like
I mean,
It's because it's a comedy. If it was a
Yeah.
real mobster movie, then it'd probably be slightly different.
And
He'd probably be more of like a shithead. Like, yeah.
then he'd get iced in the end, and Serrano would get away,
Totally.
and everyone would be like, "Man, the world's dark and shitty."
Yeah, but I think it works because you just have to make a couple tweaks like that, and it's a comedy.
Yeah,
and I think that like what you're touching on, yeah, it's unrealistic, but it's a comedy.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care that it's unreal. I mean, it's fine, but it's just like also they kind of portrayed the Duke as
the Duke.
He thinks he's a good
How
guy.
many movies
but
are going to watch with a Duke in it?
at the end of the day, he still stole $15 million.
Well, he stole $15 million from the mob, though. Like, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, just stealing money.
Those are $89.
And like, I feel like they give him a straight line of morality through the movie. You know, he's like, his arguments are ironclad. He's like, I was an accountant and I found out that I was working for the mafia and I couldn't have that be. And as soon as I found out, I took the money and
stole all their money.
Charity because I felt guilty about doing all this bad stuff for people who were bad. You know, like, I feel like they give him a really straight line of morality and he sticks with it. And then De Niro comes
How about
around
work
to
with the
seeing-
police and get them arrested and maybe not steal their money?
Well, I mean, you know, they have that scene where he's like, why do you eat these things that are bad for you? And he's like, why'd you steal money from the mob and give it to charity? And yet you knew it could be bad for you. And he's like, yeah, you're right.
You know why? Because it's not funny. And then we got a comedy here.
I think you make a good point, though. Like, maybe less of De Niro confronting his wife and more of Charles Grodin and diving in. Like, maybe we needed a tiny scene there that did explain why he went that route instead of just going the legit route. It could be something as simple as, like, he suspected, like, even talking to the police, he'd be killed immediately. So, like, I don't know. But
Yeah. Also, like, you know, the police aren't going to give it to charity. You know, like if you
True.
want to do good with the money because you feel bad about having done bad without knowing it, the police aren't going to be like, hey, I'm just going to give this to a bunch of charities. They're going to confiscate the money and like
those economics are going to trickle down on their own.
They're just going to buy new SUVs, man. More fucking firepower.
He was thinking of Reaganomics. That's
totally true. It's not going to trickle down
Every
to anyone.
episode, we talk about Reaganomics.
It trickles down to no one.
it's, you know.
Yeah, I get it. And like, you know, they have silly flourishes in this movie all over the place, but it doesn't diminish my enjoyment of the movie.
But it's an 80s comedy, so
Totally,
it can be
yeah.
unrealistic and funny and stupid.
They need scenes where like Charles Grodin's like, "You two are the dumbest bounty hunters I've ever seen," and then there's the prop plane, and he's punching them in the prop plane, and there's chickens, and you know, there's got to be hijinks. You know, it's an 80s comedy.
I think my favorite part of the entire movie, though, is when after he steals the FBI his badge, and he's sitting on the plane next to a kid, and he's just counterfeit. He's like cutting his picture out.
So
He's
good.
he's like, "This looks like me."
He's like, "What do you think?" He's like,
plays totally
"Looks
straight.
good."
It's such a good scene. I loved it.
I love how the kid delivers it too. He goes, "It looks good to me."
Just so fucking brazen. Like, there's adults right around you everywhere.
He's like, the kid's like, "To me."
80s pre 9/11 world they lived in.
Kid's got a cigarette.
I actually love that scene. Yeah, there's a weird little scene with the kid on the plane. Like, they don't need that scene at all, but I'm just so glad they put it in. Yeah, it's just
made
funny.
me chuckle.
Yeah, you could probably cut out a couple pit stops along the way, and it wouldn't have like lost anything. But
Totally.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
but I mean, it's, you know, it's.
I think you really needed the bus arriving in the city.
And then everyone's
And
shooting
all the
at them.
snipers like coming out.
Yeah.
Real, just broad fucking daylight. Just,
Yeah.
20 feet away from the bus.
Yeah.
Everyone taking aim and then not pulling the trigger when they see the guy until let them get a conversation in. All right, everyone starts shooting.
Then we
and
start
missing.
shooting. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that was the other one.
The mobster just randomly starts firing. Like, why?
I know. That's the other one too. Where like,
He was like, "Are we shooting yet, guys?
Yeah.
No, I'm
To
gonna
that-
fucking do it then." Like,
to that point in the movie, like no one died. So all of a sudden it was like they're just blasting mafia guys off the roof of the building left and right. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's like that one guy at Helm's Deep who let the arrow go. He's like, oh, shit.
I can't
I
take
guess,
that back.
fuck, here we go.
Yeah,
they would have invaded anyway.
it would have
It's
happened.
his fault.
Someone has
We're
to
gonna
fire
shoot
the
him
first
anyways.
arrow. Yeah, I
It's
know. Those orcs
And no
aren't
one ever
sitting
gets
on their
like
hands.
shot in those scenes somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it's just bullets flying everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everyone's
totally.
like,
Oh my God.
Hiding behind stuff, and no.
And there's
one
always
gets hit.
someone with a sword who just kills 450 people, and you're like, no one got him. He's that good at sword.
He's wild.
Sword. It's because the orcs are such bad fighters.
But they're so
really
big
high
and
armor class.
scary
You
looking.
can't hit that. He's rolling 20s.
Yeah. Anyway, somehow we got from mafia guys on the roof to the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is just pure rabbit fighters right there. Yeah, there's just a bunch of scenes in it that I like a lot. You know, I love the train car scene, you know, where they finally hop the train car and they're just hanging out in the train car and, you know, bullshitting about stuff. Like, there's some of the quieter moments in this movie where they get to actually have conversations with each other, and especially toward the movie's end, where they get more real with each other and stuff. Like, those are good scenes, and they have two really good actors, you know, playing off each other really well in them. So yeah, I think it's a formulaic, you know, plot and scenario, and it has some goony hijinks, but at base, it's a much higher level. It's a cut above a lot of the other ones, you know.
It's a sub above.
It's a sub above, exactly. As our sponsors at Jersey Mike's like to say, it's a sub above.
I will say that like the final scene of the movie is pretty damn good. Like the whole last 30 minutes of it are top tier. But yeah, when he finally gets him to, like, after the mob bust, he's like, I still got to take you to LA. And then he gets him to the airport. Or it was a bus station, I don't know. But
airport, yeah.
And then he calls him up and he's like, say goodbye to him because I'm letting him go. And then he hangs up and then he sets him free. He's like, I just wanted to get you to LA. And then he wraps and gets the money belt, which that actually like kind of makes it seem like Robert DeNiro doesn't know what he's doing as a cop. Like, he had a money belt on the entire time and you didn't notice. But I digress. It was a nice little, like, he gave him all the money and then he kind of looks away and then Charles Grodin's gone. And then he has so much money on him, he can't get a cab. So
yeah, I know.
It's like,
I know.
I guess I'm walking.
Yeah.
He just walks off into the credits. I was like, that was a solid ending.
And I like that he looked back and Charles Grodin's gone, because he's like, because when he looks back, I really think in his mind, he's like, I can't take this guy's fucking money. You know, like, he's got all this money and he's like, oh, weird. I didn't expect this. And thanks. I guess I'll go. Wait a minute. And he's gone. And you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm taking this guy's money. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a bit like, you probably shouldn't have taken the mob money, you know? But he's like, oh, it's a gift, but it's still dirty money. So you're like, he did a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a bribe.
Yeah.
He ended up taking the bribe in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Full
It's
circle.
not a bribe because he had already let him go.
Yeah, he'd already let him go. It wasn't. That's what he's like. This is a gift. It's not a bribe.
I mean, does that mean he maybe had two money belts on? Because I mean,
yeah, I mean, you know, he had other money squirreled away, right? Like, he's got an offshore bank account somewhere.
Yeah, he said it was like what, 300,000
yeah,
in the
like
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you know, I got some, whatever he said, took some traveling money. He said, and then whatever's left. But
I like that part where he's like, Charles Grodin says, you know, oh, I told you I had money, and De Niro's like, yeah, I didn't think you like had money. It's just the delivery.
I
like,
thought you had Bitcoin or something.
I had it on you in a fucking belt.
one scene that stuck out to me, I like with a diner where the special is chorizo with eggs. He's like, what's that?
Yeah.
What's chorizo?
What's chorizo?
The 80s.
He's like, get you anything you want. Get you a nice juicy steak. And he's like, I want chorizo with eggs. Like, he says it wrong because he doesn't know what chorizo
White
is.
folks in the 80s.
Totally.
I just thought that was kind of funny that he's like, oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah. And I was like,
never had that before.
And as an actor, I'm always like, oh, that's a good little part for the server. You know, like the waitress and that. She's like, you know, it's a Mexican sausage. I was like, that's a good little part for her. Nice going. I also like when they're walking down the road, you know, and they're just in the middle of nowhere. And it's just Charles Grodin. This is where I was reminded of Rain Man a bunch.
You're right.
You know, where he's like, you know, yeah, you get the potato and you get the onion inside the potato. And
I don't know what he was talking about.
It's
in that
great.
whole
It's a
scene.
meat dish. It's a meat dish. You use your chops, your steaks, your hamburgers. It's a great. That's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah. It's just like,
No,
Just
because he's like, I'll
obsessed
get you
about
all
food.
the potatoes you want, or something like that. I was like, what is he talking about? Potato with an onion in it? I was like, let's look that up.
Yeah, I think he said Leonese potatoes, but yeah, that was like, this is such a Rain Man scene.
I'm gonna have to read up a little bit more about the parallel between these two. That's intriguing. That's intriguing.
I'm looking up Lyonnaise potatoes.
Brian's like, fuck the comparisons. I'm looking at potatoes, man.
Can you read me the recipe?
I never
Read
heard
me
of
the
a
preamble to
buttery
the
union
recipe.
of crisp potatoes and meltingly tender onions. Okay.
Meltingly tender.
Yeah. I'd eat that. It looks good.
Anything that's meltingly tender.
I never heard of that carb.
So should we read
Yeah,
this?
fair
Or,
rate, yeah.
do we have a scale?
Oh yeah, a scale. A cigarette in an ashtray and the to Leonese potatoes.
Smoking on an airplane to smoking on a bus.
Smoking on a bus, smoking in offices, smoking in restaurants.
Put the cigarette out.
Yeah, you said you were putting it out. No.
I thought you were putting the cigarette out. No, I'm not putting the cigarette out.
I'm not gonna put it out.
Putting the cigarette out. No.
I'll go first.
Do it.
This is a solid B plus. It's really good. I do think it could have been 30 minutes shorter, and that would have been fine. The one fact I love about this is that to prepare for the roles, Robert De Niro spent like months working with cops in various cities and like working with what do you call them, the bounty hunters,
Yep.
and just learning ins and outs of it.
Yep.
And Charles Grodin, to prepare for it, he had a 10-minute conversation with his agent about.
I read that.
So how would you really do this in real life, embezzle this money? Like,
How would you set up an offshore account?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all he did to prepare. I was like, that's all you gotta do. I mean, that really sums up their two approaches
I read that
nicely
too.
and how they
That's
came
funny.
through in this completely. Yeah, that was a little icing on the cake for me, learning that factoid. But no, I thought it was really good. Really well acted. Great script. Even the bit parts are well done, with the exception of the idiot mob boss. What's his name?
Serrano.
Serrano.
Dennis Farina.
Yeah, Dennis Farina.
Yeah.
That, like,
He could
he's
have been
not
smarter.
like he should have been a lower level in
Yeah.
a capo or something. You're not the Don.
Yeah, I know. And as soon as they catch him, the Boondock Saints are going to execute him in the courtroom. So he's a goner. He should have been smarter.
Yeah, and he doesn't even understand Latin, so that's how dumb he is.
It's because he's evil.
He's evil. He's an evil man. We saw him jacking off in a place of jack-offery. He must die.
But I have no way to like judge if this is more popular than I think it is, because I never heard of it. I've never seen it on TV. I've never heard anyone talk about it. I've never seen it in a retrospective. I've never like gone through IMDb and noticed it and was like, oh, I wonder, I'm going to read more about Midnight Run.
It was very successful when it came out. I think it was one of the top 3 movies that year or something.
It was 89. I think I was in Germany
88,
at the time.
yeah.
88. Yeah, I was definitely in Germany at that time. So, and they do the 24-hour clock. So it was probably called like
Right.
24 Spiel or something.
24 Spiel.
All right. Yeah, that's it for
great.
me. It's a B+.
Great name. B+. Okay. Brian.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid B. I was trying to think. I think there were so many 80s comedies like this that I think that's why it didn't stand out to me. Like, it's just there's a million like shitty Jim Belushi movies and like a billion 80s VHS comedy buddy things that I'm just like, I mean, the ones that stand out. I mean, why do we know? I mean, this was, I guess, popular, but it's weird how I'd seen Beverly Hills Cop, like maybe because Eddie Murphy's a huge star, but and this I just never paid attention to. But I think it's just the volume of movies that came out. Like there's some like movies that reminds me of like Splash. Like this type of stuff, like John Candy type comedies. Like you kind of put this in. That
John
scene.
Candy would have been great in this movie.
but I mean, he did this movie. It's called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
But
which is also good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a great movie.
Good
but
movie.
yeah, I great ensemble cast. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this being, on cable like ad nauseum, and it's weird how I had never seen this. Maybe like. I mean, I've been 8 or 9, and it's sad to say that sometimes a cover will catch you or won't. Like it's kind of just like a Robert De Niro pulling Charles Grodin around. It's like I probably wouldn't. And the name didn't catch my eye, so it just seemed like it was just a run of the mill comedy. But yeah, it was a critical and commercial success, which is strange. I just never no one's ever mentioned this one to me. It's kind of strange too. Like, having an older brother or something or my dad used to watch movies all the time too. So it's like, I'm surprised I haven't seen this being played somewhere and being like, what is this? So yeah, first time for me for seeing this. I will agree. It's a little long for a comedy. I feel like comedies sometimes top out at 90 minutes, it's like, it's like having a 2-hour movie, like 2 hours of Wayne's World or something. You're like, okay, 90s, the jokes wear out after a while, but yeah, you got a lot of chase scenes and stuff like that. But that being said, I thought Robert De Niro was funny in it. I thought Charles Grodin, I'm going to call him Chuck. I thought Chuck and Bob were good together, good chemistry. Like it was funny without trying to be. And I think the ensemble cast around them was all really good. Like 80s comedies sort of have their own touch about them, like a feel.
Yeah.
So anyways, long-winded answer to say B. I think it's a solid 80s comedy. Would watch. 12-year-old me would watch on a Friday night, falling asleep to it on the couch.
Yeah,
so.
Good enough. B from Brian, B+ from Joshua. I'm gonna say B+. I feel like this is a Leonese potato because it is a well done regular thing. It's a steak, chops, burger. Well done. And you're like, yeah, this isn't the fancy restaurant where they use creme brulee torches to make the food in front of you. But it isn't trying to be that.
It's not in a linea.
It's not in a linea, exactly.
We fucked up your burger with truffles.
Put gold in your fucking burger, and you're like, ow, my fucking tooth.
Gross.
There's gold in your chorizo and eggs.
Thanks for the $75 burger that broke my crown, asshole. It's not trying to be that. It's trying to be a delicious home-cooked meal. And you're like, I like this home-cooked meal. And growing up, we watched this a bunch, and I was never sad to watch it. And I wasn't sad to watch it again. And I watched it twice this time around. And I noticed some more things that I liked about it than I had remembered. And I would have cut maybe 15 minutes, 20 tops out of this. You could definitely have cut some stupid stuff out of it that was just in for gags. But for the most part, it is a well-crafted movie. And looking at Martin Brest's, filmography, like
looking at Martin Brest's breasts.
Yeah, for the middle schoolers again. Martin Brest. His name's Brest. Look a boob.
Come on, don't be a Troy Duffy.
Like a boob.
Rise above this, guys. Rise above this.
Martin Tit.
Marty Tit.
Can't take you anywhere.
But yeah, he did I haven't seen the first 3 movies in his list, but he's only done 9 movies. I mean, and after his first 3, he does Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run, Son of a Woman, Meet Joe Black.
Would you say Brest is best?
Brest is best. You're just hanging on to that one.
You're rating this a B cup?
All right. Anyway, that was me. B+ for it. It's really well made, fun movie. So next week we have a Brian pick.
Oof, I was waffling around kind of goofy ones, but we kind of just did a comedy, so I was like, I don't want to. But there's a movie as a sci-fi fan that I've never seen, and I find that really weird that I've never seen this film. And that movie is Tron. And I know there's sequels, and there's a new one coming out that Jeff Bridges is also in or something. That's what I heard. And I was like, how have I? Because I've seen Blade Runner and all the other famous sci-fi films. I've never seen Tron. I was like, all right,
I don't know if you should put Tron on the same level as well.
Is it corny? Like I don't know how. Is it like
it's dated,
what's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Last Action
The Running Man?
The Running Man. Yeah.
Running Man,
is it like Running Man level or is it?
No, it's different.
Super
I haven't
cheesy.
seen it either. Actually,
You've seen Tron?
No, I've seen the sequel or whatever the hell. Yeah, the sequel to Tron that still had Jeff Bridges in it, but it was
the Daft Punk.
Yeah,
2005. It was 05 or something that came out. Yeah.
So I've never seen the original. Is it bad?
Never seen it.
No. It's a classic. It's a classic,
Okay,
but it's
okay.
weird.
All right.
It's one of those things where you'll watch it and you'll be like, how did this get greenlit? This is crazy.
Yeah, totally, man.
But then it's like super famous, so it's like
Yeah.
there's gotta be something interesting about it, right?
Pushed the bounds technologically, like special effects wise. I think story wise, it's kind of out there, especially for the time. It's worth watching. Yeah.
It was like it was like the Take on Me by Aha of movies, where they were like, how did they do that? That's incredible.
Yeah.
There's scribbles that turn into people. That's just incredible.
Yeah. It was back when Disney was like, trying to do some cool things. So.
Yeah.
I'm interested then. Oh yeah, because I mean,
All right, we'll watch Tron.
I feel like it's a sci-fi movie I should have seen already, and I would like to right this wrong.
As a Gen Xer, it is a badge I should have on my Gen X Cub Scout, uniform.
Yeah, so I'm pumped then. I feel like the fact that two of us haven't seen Tron is weird. So it'll be good.
Yeah.
So for next week, can the opening song be the Tron song?
Wait, are we not
Tron.
Oh, we're still recording.
It's it's like California Love. It's like Tron, 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 Tron. You're exploding stuff next to their heads out of nowhere to like make them jump and stuff. Brian,
you got that one correct.
Something agrees.